Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Steven Pinker has done a lot of thinking about thinking, which is the subject of his latest book, Rationality. Who is Steven Pinker? He is the Johnstone Professor of Psychology at Harvard. He is an elected member of the National Academy of Sciences, a two-time Pulitzer Prize finalist, a Humanist of the Year, recipient of 9 honorary doctorates, and one of Foreign Policy's, quote, World Top 100 Public Intellectuals and Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World Today. I interviewed him recently, and here was my first question. You wrote that training people on critical thinking has produced limited results. Beyond reading your book, do you have any suggestions for the average person who wants to be more rational? Steven Pinker's response, be aware of overconfidence. Think twice about your biases, especially the powerful my side bias, the tendency to ratify your political sect's wisdom. Avoid guilt by association. Look critically at your side's sacred beliefs. Changing your mind can be a good thing. In short, don't be guilty of the bias, thinking that everyone is biased except you. Expose yourself to the best sources on other sides, for example, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, and be prepared to change your mind. Let the evidence free your well-guarded beliefs. My next question, you write that quote, it would be nice, end quote, if people could control their my side bias. That implies it's difficult. Indeed, there are reasons to keep the bias. It's comfortable and often expedient to express clarity about one's core beliefs. How might such people become more fair-minded? Pinker answered, the tools of rationality need to become a larger part of our curriculum. Rationality should be the 4th R, reading, writing, arithmetic, and critically, rationality. Tools like probability, logic, and critical thinking should be part of every curriculum. Of course, there are only so many hours in the school day, so what might those replace? Trigonometry comes to mind. As adults, it's important that people become part of communities that aspire to rationality. They implement checks and balances, including empirical testing, peer reviews, editing, and fact-checking. My next question, well, peer review and editing can be an echo chamber. For example, in peer review, the reviewers need to be in the researcher's micro-niche and thus tend to support each other. Editors at publications where an author submits tend to be ideological kinsmen, rejecting opposing thought. His answer, don't I know it? We should improve those processes. My next question, you write, quote, legislators are largely populated by lawyers, whose professional goal is victory rather than truth. How might you counter that? Steven Pinker's response, we would do well to get more scientists in Congress. At least in theory, they're more committed to getting to the truth than to winning. My next question, isn't part of the problem our electoral system, which requires a 4-year press-the-flesh fundraising campaign followed by another one? That deters some of our best people from running. I believe we'd be better off if campaigns were briefer and 100% publicly funded. Anyway, moving on, you assert that society's mind-molding vehicles, the schools, colleges, and news sources are often polemical, biased rather than rational. What's your advice on how the public can sift through that? Steven Pinker's response, the schools themselves should cultivate a reputation for open-mindedness and objectivity rather than pursuing moral crusades. Also, university administrators need to get pushback from organizations that are committed to liberalism and freedom of inquiry so they don't just cave into wokest protesters that make life most miserable for them, organizations like Heterodox Academy and Academic Freedom Alliance. I then said, to your list of broad-thinking entities, I would add Debate Squared, which posts debates on issues of the day in which each side consists of top thinkers. On to another topic, you write, in policy, medicine, policing, and other specialties, evidence-based evaluation should be a mainstream, not a niche practice. End quote. But isn't there a place for professional judgment? Steven Pinker's response, there is, but we should be aware of the limitations of overriding a good algorithm. Psychologists such as Daniel Kahneman and Cass Sunstein, among many others, have found that in most competitions between human and actuarial formulas, the formula does better. My next question, you extol inference drawing, for example in describing the hunting practices of the San, a culture that has survived in the desert for millennia. But when police draw inferences about likely suspects to prevent crime, it's called profiling. How should we address the tension between discernment and racism? Steven Pinker's response? Philip Tetlock describes the problem as forbidden base rates. If a person considers religion, race, etc. to make a judgment, he or she feels dirty and penitent. It isn't unreasonable. We really shouldn't use race and religion to prejudge people in contexts like the criminal justice system. Some decrease in prediction of crime is an acceptable price in the service of other goals. For example, gaining the community's trust in the fairness of the system and not perpetuating historical injustices by self-fulfilling prophecies. And there's the Blackstone principle, that it's better that 10 people who are guilty go free than that one innocent person gets convicted. My next question is, assuming that a student hasn't demonstrated the potential to be a luminary like Steven Pinker, is it rational to pursue an academic career today? After all, there are few full-time benefited tenured positions. Even in industry, job openings get many PhD-toting applicants. Steven Pinker's answer, it's a big problem. Universities need to be more transparent about employment prospects for their students. Part of the problem is that universities have a conflict of interest. They enjoy inexpensive graduate student assistants and increasingly postdoctoral fellows who do the lion's share of the work in biology. Students, armed with these data, should make their life choices wisely. Instead of just prolonging the pleasant life of a student by going to grad school, they should think seriously about where that track in life will take them. That said, people can play odds and take a chance, as I did during the academic job recession of the 70s, as long as the decision is informed. My final question was, what's next for Steven Pinker? His answer, I'm working on a book about common knowledge, knowing that everyone knows something, and how it explains civility, hypocrisy, and taboo. In any event, I'm Marty Nemko. I thank you for watching. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.